Good day, everyone. This is the Katipunan Chronicle. I am your news anchor, Louie Gonzales, and for today, we will be delivering you facts and information regarding the Tejeros Assembly. To close in on the details of the historical background, we have Alessandra Cordova reporting from Cavite.
Thank you, Louie. I'm currently here in General Trias, Cavite, where the Tejeros Convention was held 125 years ago. This part of the town was formerly part of San Francisco de Malabon, which is now called today as General Trias, Cavite. So why did the early Filipino leaders decide to conduct a meeting here at the former Friar State House? Well, the Katipuneros at the time, mainly from Magdiwang and the Magdala faction, were having issues with each other in terms of territory and logistics, because the dispute cannot be easily resolved. Emilio Aguinaldo decided to call on Andres Bonifacio for help. They then agreed to form a revolutionary government or pamahalaang paghihimagsik. Reigned on March 22, 1897, the Cavite Katipuneros as well as representatives of the Katipunan from the nearby provinces converged at the State House. However, Emilio Aguinaldo could not attend because he was commanding the Filipino forces at the front lines in Pasong Santol, Barrio Salitran, and Dasmariñas, who were facing the imminent attack of the Spaniards. The meeting that occurred is what we now know as the Tejeros Assembly or the Tejeros Convention. Back to you, Louie.
Thank you, Alessandra, for providing the people with a brief historical background. The Tejeros Assembly was known for its controversies before, during, and after it happened. To give you some more insight regarding this, we have Xyrill Constantino and Kiana reporting.
Thank you, Louie. To start off, on March 22, 1897, two factions of the Katipunan held a meeting at the Friars State House at Barrio Tejeros. The two factions were called the Magdiwang, led by Mariano Alvarez with the support of the Supreme Council, and the Magdalo, led by Baldomero Aguinaldo. The meeting was originally conducted to address the problems regarding the defense of the Katipunan in Cavite, which was being retaken by the Spanish government at the time. However, the purpose of the meeting was not really fulfilled, as the major event that occurred during the convention was the election of the revolutionary government. Before the election were held, Severino de las Alas opened up about the Filipinos government. Is it going to be a republic or a monarchy? Well, Jacinto Lubreras, the first chairman of the meeting, said to him that the Katipunan Supreme Council was already the Filipino people's government. Andres Bonifacio agreed with Lubreras' opinion and began supporting the idea by reiterating the meaning of the letter K on the flag, which stands for Kalayaan or Liberty. De las Alas replied by stating that it is still not clear if the government was a monarch or a republic. Antonio Montenegro then entered the scene, which led to the heated moment between him and Santiago Alvarez. It was a dramatic moment, but it soon calmed for a while. From this point on, it was not clear to everyone that the Katipuneros wanted a government that would lead the revolution, as well as the Filipinos. During this time, Bonifacio replaced Lubreras as the chairman. The new chairman of the meeting acknowledged the Katipuneros' desire for a government that will lead them to the revolution. Bonifacio then stated that everyone should respect the majority's choice. Everyone cheered, and then the election proceeded. Kiana, can you tell us about the election during the Tejeros Assembly?
Sure thing, Xyrill. To continue where you left off, the presidential election was held with Emilio Aguinaldo proclaimed as the winner. For the vice president, Mariano Trias won. The next election was for the Capitan General. Artemio Ricarte was elected to this position, even though he refused it at first because of self-doubt. The next election was for the Director of War, Emiliano R. de Dios, was elected for that position. Lastly but not intended to be the last, the election for the Director of Interior was held. Andres Bonifacio was proclaimed the winner. Now, this is where the most dramatic scene happened. Daniel Terona, a supporter of Magdalio faction, stole the scene by protesting against Bonifacio's proclamation. He argued that the position is best given to an educated person such as a lawyer. Terona then suggested attorney Jose del Rosario for the position of the Director of Interior. The Supremo, Andres Bonifacio, reacted furiously to the commotion. He recalled to the people the agreement that they had before everyone started voting, that everyone must respect and obey the outcomes of the election. Bonifacio then demanded an apology from Terona, an action that Terona failed to give. This led to the Supremo to pull out his revolver to shoot Terona, but was stopped by Ricarte. As the president of the meeting, as well as the Katipunan Supreme Council, Bonifacio declared the agreements during the meeting null because it did not flow according to the agreement. Back to you, Louie.
Thank you, Kiana and Xyrill, for that insightful report. Indeed, the election process for the officers of the Philippine Republic was something that can be put into question, especially the suspected cheating and the true intentions of the Magdalo faction. However, that is not for me to discuss. To give you some more insight about the comparison of the accounts of Artemio Ricard, Andres Bonifacio, and General Santiago Alvarez, we have Joshua Yao reporting.
Thank you, Louie. Before I start with the three accounts, I will first give a brief background about the three authors. General Artemio Ricarte, aka Vibora, was one of the officials of the Magdiwang faction, served as the Secretary of Convention during Bonifacio's presidency, and was elected Captain General during the Tejeros Assembly. His account of the Philippine Revolution was first written in Spanish and was later translated into English by British journalist William Bracknell Watson. Ricarde's memoirs were published in Tagalog in 1927 in Yokohama, Japan, entitled Himagsikan ng mga Pilipino laban sa Kastila. On the other hand, Andres Bonifacio was the Supremo of the Katipunan who wrote a letter containing his account to Emilio Jacinto a month after the Tejeros Convention. This was first published in Jose P. Santos's Si Andres Bonifacio at ang Himagsikan in 1932. The third person, Santiago Alvarez, was also known as Kidlat ng Apoy, and his account of the convention can be found in chapter 32 of his memoirs. Like Ricarte, Alvarez was a direct participant and witness. The happenings in Ricarte and Alvarez's account were almost the same. However, it still contained some minor differences regarding the date, and that Alvarez's account was more detailed than Ricarde's account. Additional information was stated in Alvarez's account, stating that Secretary of War Ariston Villanueva of the Magdiwang Council received confidential information regarding Daniel Terona and the Magdalo faction's intentions to undermine the Assembly's proceedings. Diego Mojica, the Magdiwang Secretary of the Treasury, warned the Supremo about this before the ballots were distributed, but the latter ignored this remark. According to him, Baldomero Aguinaldo was the one who wanted the elections to be finished before it got too dark. However, Ricardo's account stated that it was the chairman who suggested this. In addition, their accounts contained one or more persons missing or added to the Magdalo or Magdiwang faction seated at the head table. Alvarez stated that the assembly occurred on March 25, 1897, while in Ricardo's account it was on March 22, 1897. In addition, it was also stated in his account that despite the proceedings being declared null and void by Bonifacio, the Magdalo faction still proceeded with their oath-taking, and that Bonifacio and other Magdiwang members signed the Acta de Tejeros, stating the reason why they were opposed to the occurrences during the assembly. This was then followed by the Naik Pact, wherein Bonifacio stated his intentions to establish a separate government independent of that of Aguinaldo's government. On the other hand, Bonifacio's account was biased since he did not include the part where he pointed a revolver at Daniel Terona for insulting his educational background. He also explained in his letter that when he found out about the intentions of those people from Imus, he realized that the assembly was done out of evil intentions. This is Joshua Yao reporting. Back to you, Louie.
That was a remarkable comparison of the three accounts. Thank you, Joshua. Lastly, this segment would not be completed without the relevance of the assembly being stated. To close in on the details, we have Marc Bulan reporting.
The Tejeros Convention was a pivotal event in the Philippine Revolution, and its consequences remain contentious to this day.
because the protestations voiced in the acta ultimately failed to nullify its outcome. It was the point at which the overall leadership of the struggle against the Spains passed from Katipunan to the nascent government, and from Bonifacio to Aguinaldo. And it had a deeper significance beyond the organizational structures and personalities. Some nationalist historians argue because it symbolized the seizure of the revolutionary movement by the Caviteño elite, the defeat of the revolution of the masses. The Tejeros Assembly is where the formation of the government of the First Republic of the Philippines occurred with Emilio Aguinaldo as president, not of the Katipunan, but of the Philippines. It is now clear to us that since then, Filipinos practice democracy in choosing their leader. We also learned that there were issues back then regarding the politics that are almost similar to the more present issues that we have and had in the Philippine government. Andres Bonifacio was executed under the command of the elected president for alleged treason and sedition. But that is a different story to tell for another day. We also learned that the Spaniards were not the only enemy of the Philippine people back then. Filipinos were also at war with themselves for power. This reminds us that we should choose a leader that wants to be a leader not for power, but for service to the people. This is Marc Bulan reporting for the Katipunan Chronicle.
That ends our segment for today. We hope that you have gained substantial information regarding the Tejeros Assembly. Again, this is your news anchor Louie Gonzales signing off.